What is popcorn tea? It's not what you might think, but we're also going to try making that too. We had a viral video explaining popcorn tea, which is a nickname for a special type of Japanese green tea. In this video, we're going to find out what this famous popcorn tea is, how it's made, and we're also going to do a taste test. But the last video got me curious. What would happen if you made a tea from actual popcorn? And would it taste similar to the so-called popcorn tea? The answer is coming soon, but first, let's take a look at the real popcorn tea. This is Genmaicha, and it's one of the most popular types of green teas in Japan. It's made by mixing green tea leaves with pieces of toasted rice. The name roughly translates to brown rice tea, and it actually began as a way to conserve tea leaves during times of economic hardship. To make the tea supplies last longer, people would roast up some grains of brown rice until they were crispy and mix this in with the tea leaves. Soon, people began to fall in love with the warm, nutty flavor of this tea, and now it's the most popular blended tea in Japan. Not only does the toasted rice change the flavor, it also reduces the caffeine content of the tea, making it a good choice for the afternoon or evening. So that explains the pieces of toasted rice, but what are these little white bits that look like popcorn? So during the roasting process, some of the rice grains actually pop in a similar way to popcorn kernels. The soft starch inside the rice becomes inflated and spills out, cooling immediately and forming this odd shape. We started selling a Genmaicha at neoteas.com called Popcorn Genmaicha, which is the true popcorn tea. But how do these little white pieces impact the flavor? Does it make the tea taste like popcorn? I wanted to find out, so I first brewed up some of this popcorn Genmaicha. Genmaicha tends to be made from the more mature tea leaves, so it stands up better to higher temperatures. While we might recommend a temperature of 70 degrees Celsius or 160 degrees Fahrenheit for a normal sencha tea, Genmaicha can be brewed at 80 degrees Celsius or 175 degrees Fahrenheit. A 1-minute brewing time is perfect for this tea. Just enough time for the tea to expand and release its flavor into the water, but not too much that the tea becomes bitter. For Genmaicha, I find that shorter brewing times bring out more of the rice flavor, but with longer brewing times, the leaves have a chance to catch up, and it starts to taste more like a normal green tea. This is something you can keep in mind as you adjust your brewing parameters to meet your own preference. After the brewing time was up, I poured it out to take a look at the color and the flavor. Genmaicha tends to take on a darker yellow color compared to a normal Japanese green tea like sencha, but it doesn't look too unfamiliar. The aroma and flavor, however, is completely different. First, we should open up the teapot and get a whiff of the wet tea leaves. The aroma coming from this teapot is super strong, with an intense roasted scent. It also has a slightly sweet and buttery scent, similar to freshly popped popcorn, but as you'll see later, that is where the similarities end. I often describe the taste of Genmaicha as being similar to popcorn because it has these starchy and slightly buttery characteristics, but it's a bit more subtle than that. The crispy rice produces a similar flavor to unsweetened cereal like oatmeal or, well, Rice Krispies. The tea leaves come in later with these fresh notes of spring grass. The tea leaves also add a bit of acidity to the flavor and help to round it out. If you were to try drinking these rice grains on their own without the leaves, you wouldn't get much flavor from them. You really need the two together so they can balance each other out. Speaking of which, let's try brewing up some of that popcorn and see how similar the taste is. I filled up a glass teapot with some freshly popped popcorn and used the same temperature, water, and brewing time. As you might expect, the popcorn shrinks significantly in size once you add the water, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. Before we pour this tea out, if you're enjoying this video so far, it would really mean a lot to us if you could like and subscribe to learn more about green tea in future videos. Now let's try out that popcorn tea. So when I poured it out, I was so surprised to see the color it produced. I had never seen a liquid this color before. I mean, look at it. It's like silver. For some reason, I thought it would make a yellowish gold color, similar to Genmaicha, but as you can see, the two are completely different. After some self-talk, I finally got up the courage to take a sip of this tea. I thought I might get a smooth, buttery flavor with notes of popcorn, but instead, it really just tasted like salty water. I think at 1 minute of brewing, the popcorn itself is really not releasing any of its flavor. It's mostly just the salt and the oils on the kernels that are being released. I was really not a fan of this brew, and I feel lucky to have this great tasting popcorn tea in my cabinet instead. In addition to being low in caffeine, Genmaicha also makes a great food pairing for snacks like nuts and, yes, even popcorn. Like bancha, Genmaicha is a great snacking tea for those afternoons where you're hungry before dinner time. Low in caffeine, higher in minerals, and the flavors work great together. After this experiment, I learned it's best to just stick to eating the popcorn alongside the tea and not brewing it. If you want to try some Genmaicha tea, you can find it on our website, neoteas.com. After traveling around Japan in search of the best pesticide-free green teas, we met with dozens of tea farmers and sampled hundreds of different teas. We selected our favorite Genmaicha teas, and you can find them all for a reasonable price with free shipping options worldwide. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.